Yes. Now it's the time for Marcelle Holloway. She's a technical officer at the European Commission Joint Research Center, and she has worked, I think, for several years in ECVAM, in the group ECVAM, and today she's going to be talking about all the activities that they are doing related with 3Rs education. So, Marcelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody. It's really great to be here and see so many of you today in this workshop. My name is Marcelle. I would just do a couple of, try to be brief so we can give time for the teachers to present their learning scenarios. So just a couple of slides about where I work. I work at the Joint Research Center, which is part of the European Commission. This is the Science and Knowledge Service of the European Commission, and we provide science and knowledge to our policy-making colleagues up in Brussels. We are based in 5 member states and over 6 sites, but we are located in Ispra in northern Italy on the Lago Maggiore. And our little corner of the JRC is known as ECVAM. This is the EU Reference Laboratory for Alternatives to Animal Testing. And what we do here is we do the validation of alternatives, research into alternatives, dissemination of them and promotion. And we support the dissemination and promotion of the 3Rs and also of the implementation of the EU legislation on the protection of animals used for scientific purposes. We also do a number of education activities, including a summer school for early career scientists and this project, which I'm going to explain to you now. So first of all, I want to introduce you to our 3Rs Leading Teachers panel. European SchoolNet is our partner organization. We've been working with them since 2018, I think. And this is made up of over 30 education ministries around Europe. And they kindly lend us their teachers to help us to co-create resources for teaching the 3Rs. This is, of course, one of many different projects and topics that they cover. And this is our special group of teachers that are helping us. And I just want to thank in advance specifically Glenn, Karen, Conrad, and Emma for participating today and for sharing with us their hard work, their learning scenarios that they have developed for this project. So a little bit more about the 3Rs. Jenny has already explained quite well what the 3Rs are. So we're talking here about replacement, reduction, refinement of animals used in science. So here we see Professors William Russell and Professor Birch, Rex Birch, who came up with this concept quite a long time ago, in 1959, when they were tasked with investigating animal welfare issues in laboratories. And they detail all of this in their book, The Principles of Humane Experimental Technique. So basically what we're talking about here, we're talking about replacing, reducing, refining animals. Replacement can involve many and varied impressive techniques, fast developing. It's a fast developing sector. They are in vitro or in glass methods, techniques that use cells and tissues cultured in the lab, or computational modeling that processes existing data to predict the effects of certain products, chemicals, for example, on an organism. Artificial intelligence and algorithms can also do this, can predict the effects of a substance using data analyzed from tested substances, or cell-based methods using pluripotent stem cells in microfluidic devices, for example, which is the second picture you see there, which is a picture of an organ on a chip, using cells, human cells, to organ cells to try to assess chemical impacts on organisms. And reduction is reducing the number of animals to the absolute minimum needed for your research. This came about because Russell and Birch noticed there was some animal waste going on in the labs. So you can do this through very good experimental design. So you use the least number of animals needed, but you still, of course, get the results you want. And you can also do it through blending together replacement methods and animal methods together in one program, research program, and overall you would have reduced the number of animals needed. And as we've understood by now, probably that we are still using animals and we still need to use animals sometimes in science, then refinement comes into play. And refinement is all about good practices in housing and care for the animals. For example, providing group housing where it's appropriate. You see this in the first picture with the pigs. Enrichment, they have a little toy in there to play with. You must offer correct bedding and burrowing material and that sort of thing, and correct anesthetic, analgesic during and after invasive procedures, and humane handling of the animals. So here in the third picture, you see tube handling, which is considered to be a humane method of handling mice, rather than picking up by the tail, for example. And then in the last picture, you see a picture of rabbits that are group housed, and you see two hopping platforms. So it may seem like it's not very important, but it's actually very important for rabbits to have somewhere where they can hop up and down in their cage. All three R's must be applied under EU legislation and Swiss legislation. So in a nutshell, what we're talking about is animal use in science. And I say this because it's done for varying purposes. And in the learning scenarios, we have this definition at the top, so it's clear straight away for people what we're talking about. They are used for basic and applied research, of course, but also development or production of medicines, efficacy and safety testing of vaccines, development of vaccines, testing of chemicals, food additives, and other products to make sure they're safe. Animal testing on cosmetics is banned under EU legislation. In Switzerland, where there are alternatives, they must be used, which for all intents and purposes is the same thing. And I want to give you some stats. We collect in the EU the numbers from Norway. Norway is not in the EU, but they submit their numbers to us anyway. I couldn't give you the numbers for 2019, but I can already tell you they're not very different from this 10.8, just a little bit more. And yes, I wanted to just tell you that worldwide, the estimation is that more than 100 million animals are used in cosmetics testing and research and other purposes worldwide. So why are the 3 R's important? Why are we pushing to educate young people? And also we do some activities at university level on the 3 R's to try to introduce more convincingly the 3 R's there. Well, of course, they're important for animal welfare and ethical reasons. Good animal welfare is a European value, and it's in our treaty on the functioning of the EU. And in the EU, it's the ultimate goal to phase out the use of animals completely. We just don't have a timeline or a deadline for that yet. And of course, citizens and politicians support this. So what we want to do is to establish with young people a positive mindset towards animals and to raise awareness about alternatives and better science, basically. Legislation, so we have our legislation in place. I already said it's mandatory to apply the 3 R's, and it's important, especially for young and future scientists, to be aware of these strict laws that are in place. Innovative and human relevant science. This produces more useful results, and it's important to move towards this more sustainable science. So human cell-based approaches produce results that translate better to the human situation, basically. So if we stop using mouse biology to study human biology, then this obviously makes sense. And we should move towards this in the future. And jobs and careers, some of the new tools mentioned and approaches that I've mentioned are shaping job opportunities of the future. So organ on a chip, data analytics, AI and machine learning, etc., that represent a lot of opportunities for young people in the job market. And talking of careers, I would just like to show you here some career information. So we plan to have 4 3Rs practitioners showcased through social media and through our dedicated web space to inspire and educate young people. And these are here for teachers and students to look at together. So our first victim, let's say, was my colleague Monica Piergiovanni, who is an organ on a chip expert. And here you can learn all about her studies, what inspired her, how she got to where she is today, working on this fascinating technology. You can listen to a podcast, watch a video, read her career sheet, and next week you can join an online chat with her live, and you can ask her any questions that you want to ask her. You can find it on social media with this hashtag, but in the slides there is a link underneath in the notes page that you will see when you receive the slides. And our second 3Rs practitioner is Luisa Bastos from Eurogroup for Animals, and she's the Animals in Science program leader. And she has had a really very, very interesting career, and she was great. She has a video, also a podcast, and she will do a live chat in the coming weeks. So please look out for them. Just very quickly, obviously, our objective is to integrate 3Rs as a topic into education systems, and now we are focusing on secondary schools here. We are following the 4-step plan of European SchoolNet, basically, and to do this, to integrate the 3Rs, we have developed good resources, which we will share with you, and we will show you how they can be taught. So these are learning scenarios, which are basically lesson plans, and the resources are linked to those. And we are engaged in professional development, so helping teachers. And we did this through a MOOC last year. This is still available. I'll explain on the next slide, I think, about that. And we disseminate to teachers, so we can do some teacher training in the local language. And then we reach out to education ministries where we try to persuade them, to lobby them basically to maybe even add this topic to the curriculum. And that comes towards the end of our project, which is at the end of 2022. So what can we share with you as teachers now? So we have a lot of things to share already now, and a lot more are coming soon. We ran our MOOC last autumn, and we based it on these 3 modules here: animal welfare and science, human-based science, and critical thinking. And we talked about these 6 learning scenarios that are finalized and available already for you to use. I just go quickly to this slide because you can see what they look like. And in a moment, you're actually going to see, you're going to learn a lot more about these. But I just want to say, I want to reassure teachers that if you're not totally confident with the topic of the 3Rs, and it's, you know, it can be a difficult topic to grasp, each and every one of the learning scenarios has a lot of resources to support you to do your background research before you teach to the class. So they are all 3Rs based. They come at it from a different angle each time, basically. And there's a lot of information in there to help you prepare for your lessons. So here, yes, we have the learning scenarios, and this is a template with all the information you need to give your class. And linked inside are the teaching resources. So we have a number of things. We have some virtual reality to look at. We have some quizzes, 8 really fantastic podcasts of scientists developing alternatives, and a number of simple things, games and things like that. And they will all become available in the coming weeks on a dedicated web page. And I think I've come to the end, yes. So I would like to thank you very much for listening. And I'm available now for any questions that you have. Thanks very much.